Okay.
Thank you. You are now due on participant number 1.
Okay, so we are on page Tesvov. About 11 lines from the top. Line 9 begins with the word lihiyois. We explained that after the shuv there will come a rotz. And the reason, thank you much. The reason there will be a rotz after the shuv, even though the shuv should be totally satisfying, because he has the Gilui Yor B'Nafsho, he has the Elokus come down to him, the reality itself. So why does he need a rotz any further? And the explanation is that although there is this presence, but the way this presence is known to him, it is through Gilui Yor, which means that it is still a personal acceptance. It is by virtue of the fact that he wants it, this is why he recognizes it. And if he didn't have to have this chayfetz, then he would not recognize it. Therefore, there is an element, what he wants. It is not just the presence itself. There is a Gilui Yor. He knows what he wants. And once there is this element of he knows what he wants, that already puts him into the next phase. Okay, so...
Because he's now experiencing what he wants. That's why you say he knows what he wants.
What?
He said he knows what he wants when he's now receiving what he wants.
He's receiving what he wants, but he only is receiving it because there is an element, because he's a recipient. There's a chayfetz involved. In other words, it's not something which he has without his personal participation. And therefore, if there is a personal participation, there is an element of I know what I'm accepting. I know what I'm getting. Let's continue, and we'll see the line at the end of this line. Therefore, he misoider again in a rotzu aspect. Mitzad hagilui gufo, because of the gilui itself, because of the experience of the shuv itself, that itself arouses him for a rotz. Why? Because being that that the whole inyan, what is transpiring over here, this whole phenomenon of shuv, whole bechinas Gilui Yor, is an element of Gilui Yor. Again, This is in contrast to etzem. This is a gilui oir. A gilui oir means that there is some kind of effect, some kind of a content. Harei ze gufa moir lezarotzu. That itself is moir the rotzu, the gilui oir. The rotzu means I want to know it more. I want to know it better. And the rotzu is like his misbon, and he's reflecting what it is that there is here. We had, in discussing yesterday, we presented the following illustration. If a Talmid is receiving instruction and teaching from his Rav, where in that case he is merely a recipient. As a matter of fact, he has to be receiving what he is being taught, as the Gemara says, what he is being given, without investigating at the time, without trying to make sense of it to himself, just receive what the Rav is mashpia. And as we learned recently means just a few pages ago, that the Rav gives him guf esem sichli. If you remember, we discussed this a long time. He gives him mamash an element of seichel, of his seichel. So therefore he has the seichel of the Rav. But the seichel of the Rav is a seichel. And the tendency of the Talmud would be, okay, let me try and get into it. Even though he's getting the whole thing. But he wants to get into it. And as a matter of fact, this is a special madrega to be dedicated to the extent where he does not get into it while the Rab is mashpia, in order to get the full impact of the Rab's hashpah. But the tendency is that he wants to get into it. Why? Because he wants to get a better feel, a better understanding of that Giluyot, even though it's given to him. To its fullest, he's giving the guf seichel orav. He wants to take it with his own koiches, with his own qualities. So this Giluyot itself is Ma'orer as Horotzu, where the Rotzu means he is stepping out of his personal complacency and personal satisfaction, and he wants to get into the Elokus itself, the pure Elokus itself, not as Elokus manifests itself in him, but the pure Elokus itself, that's the Rotzu. So this is the Rotzu that follows the Shuv, which is really kind of an additive. Why would he want to, if he has a Shuv, he has a Lakus with him, why does he want to go away from that state of satisfaction? And the answer is because that state of satisfaction itself is Ma'oreh the Rotzu, because it has an element of Giluyot. As we explained yesterday, that if he is in fact in front of the king himself, then there is no Rotzu. And then there is not even the inyan of Shuv. In other words, he is not receiving the presence of the king by virtue of his faculties. It is the etzem. But here is a shuv, he's receiving it by virtue of his faculties. He said, who chayfetz. He has to be prepared to accept it, to receive it. Just as we explained in the case of the Rav and Talmud. The Talmud will not receive anything unless he really wants to receive it. To understand the seichel, you have to want to understand the seichel. Even though it's seichel and it's being proven to you and shown to you, you won't see anything unless you open yourself up to receiving it. So there's a faculty involved. Therefore, there is gilui oyer. It's not an etzem; it's a gilui oyer. It's an expression of the etzem. Once it's gilui oyer, you want to get into the inyan with your own faculties. All right, I think that's suffice it for now. V'gam, and then also, in addition to the fact that he wants to get into the oil that he has now, but then in addition to that, shechofetz achar kach, that then afterwards he wants gilui oir elyon yoser. He wants afterwards a gilui oir elyon yoser, a higher gilui oir. Once he is in the shuv, then and he wants a higher gilui oir. What is this in that he wants a gilui oir elyon yoser? Because when the gilui oir is in the form of a shuv, which means it is something which has been translated at his level in his parameters. That itself necessitates and allows a desire for a gilui oir elyon yoser. There's the inyan that in Torah, no matter how much a person understands Torah, there is an element, there remains an element of Nasa v'Nishma. There's an element that Torah is higher than my understanding. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, who had the capacity, who absorbed the entire Torah, everything with his own faculties. By Moshe Rabbeinu, the Nasa was on a much higher level, but there is an element of Nasa even by Moshe Rabbeinu. But that's how Torah, this is how you receive the Torah. Since Torah is something which comes from Hashem himself, the only way to receive the truth of Torah is through the Nasa. Even though and then afterwards what happens is that you come to full understanding of that inyan, and then the Nasa comes, the Nasa Kodem Nishma relates to even a higher level. This is the Rotza that comes after the Shu. Okay.
Sorry, no, just missed that. The Nasa is what drives him to seek more after the Shuv?
Well,
okay, I just didn't hear it, I guess.
Nase v'nishma, right?
Yeah.
So Nase v'nishma means, okay, so you have Nase, that's how you approach, and then Nishma. What happens after the Nishma?
Another nasa.
Another Nase. Another Nase that precedes the other Nishma. There's always the higher one. But once it becomes Nishma, then it's no longer, there is no longer the Inyan that this is something which I'm receiving from the Meirish. And the Inyan of the Atzmos Holocaust is missing, even though it is a Seichel and a key. Okay, this is the end of this discussion. What discussion? We are talking about Rotzu v'Shuv, and we said Rotzu and Shuv, this is Ahava v'Yir. Ahava comes through his bonus, and that his bonus is in two different directions. We discussed in one direction, when he is misboinen the Kiruv Holocaust. And how from this Kiruv Elokus comes about the Shuv, the Inyan from Teiro Mitzvahs and so forth. The Ahava and then it results in the Shuv. Now we're going to the other aspect of the manner of how Ahava is aroused.
Can I see a question? You said that being that it's that what he's receiving is gilui, or that's why it arouses with him the ratzu. Is that I'm trying to say? Is that because he realizes that what he's receiving now that there's more to it? Like what's by his perspective? What's the motivating factor that he's going to look for another ratzus? Because he knows that there's more. Is he? Like,
there's two things. One is because in Rotter is one country, he wants to Gili Oyer Elin Yoiser. But even within this same Gili Oyer, the Rotzu is he wants to get a better hold of it. He wants to get a personal hold of it. Even though he already has the Shuv, he has the Mitzvahs, and he recognizes Hashem's presence, but he wants to get a personal connection to it. This is the Rotz.
The emphasis on Gilui Or is because it's not an Etzem.
Right.
Therefore, there's what to get closer to. He's trying to get closer, in other words, to the Etzem aspect of it. That's why he wants to get more into it.
Gilui Oyer is present, again, only if you recognize it.
Right.
So it says Gilui Oyer, he wants to recognize it even better. That's the Rotz.
By Etzem, he wouldn't have that experience.
Etzem, he wouldn't have it. Etzem is not through personal faculties, not through Gilui Oyer.
He says he wants Gilui or Elyon Yoser. Does he have within the Gilui that he's giving, is the Gilui complete and he's just not experiencing the whole thing, or is it that there's actually more of a sort of Gilui that to arouse, it would be mamshich to him? You say he's given this sort of from above, he's given some, like whatever he's given in the shuv. Is whatever he's receiving is incomplete, he's just not perceiving the whole thing, or is there actually, I guess, also like a more...
Well, we explained that the shuv is valid only if it comes after the rotz. So therefore the shuv is in proximity to the rotz that preceded it. Once it came to the point of actualization in the shuv, he wants a higher gilui. The Shuv is not absolute in itself. The Shuv is dependent on the roads that preceded it. Om nom noidam. However, in truth, noida it is known the avo pnimis yoiser, that the avo, which is more pnimi, more internal, more real, he shenaso mi bechinas horoimus deirisoibar. It is the avo that is affected from realizing, recognizing the roimus deirisoibar, the remoteness and the supremacy of the Ein Sof. Here we talked about the ahava that is the result of recognizing the closeness, the hislapshus of Ein Sof in the world. But the more pnimistic ahava is an ahava that is affected b'mchinas oremus, by recognizing and by focusing onto the roimamus of Ein Sof. And we can readily understand the difference between these two ava. The ava that comes between his yashvus is kind of a response to a personal benefit, a personal recognition. It is not a pure ahava, wanting that particular the truth of this in it. It is a response to the fact that there is that closeness and of mind. So that kind of takes him over. Where the amos beginners of is pnimis yesef. This ava is pnimis. Pnimis means that this ava comes as a result of and is reflective of the real desire of the nefesh, of the truth of the nefesh itself. It is not due to some external effect. It is simply revealing what the nefesh really wants. Das mit aber pnimis yoser. And that comes from Pinas Horoimos the Ein Sof. And this is what we're going to discuss now. Behind, and that is kasher mizboinein, that when one is reflected and he delves into Eich shekol hahamshoches v'hagiluim bo'ilmeis, how into the fact that kol hamshoches v'hagiluim bo'ilmeis, that everything that comes into world and everything that is affecting and enlivening the worlds, gam bo'ilmeis ho'elyonim, even in the highest worlds, hu rag haor levav, is only a haora. And we explained the principle of haora. Haora effectively means the effect of the presence of the Ein Sof. Like in the case of the sunlight, so there is the light of the sun itself, the way it is in the sun. This is the true light. But then, as this light comes into the world and illuminates the world, this is what's called a haora. It translates the true inyan of light at the level where the light can be expressed in the darkness. where there is no light. That's mit ha'ora. It's the effect of the fact that there is light. It's not the essence of light. It's the effect of presence of light. That's mit ha'ora. What is, from our perspective, from the world perspective, what is light? Light is that which enables us to see in the darkness. So that's a functional element of light. That's not the essential element of light. We discussed in Gila Yoyer and the Rotsu pointed out that the seichel has the element of discovery. What does discovery mean? Oh, thanks a lot. Discovery means that where I am, I'm really in a world where I don't see the sea. But if I focus in with my seichel, and my seichel is actually imbued with the chayas hanefesh, I begin to recognize a completely different world, a completely different truth. Something which is identified exclusively by seichel. This is the Rotzu, this is the Gila Yoyer and the Rotzu. Discovery. Why is it discovery? Elokus is everywhere. Because in the world, if you want to understand Elokus from the world, it's like a discovery. What's discovery? Where is the effect of Elokus into the world? That's discovery. Like, for example, a table in the world, it's wood. It's a board on 4 legs. That's the most you can say about it. The table element is not part of the world. This is where in the world you discover a human element. In the physical world you have a human element, a nefesh element. It's not really part and parcel of the world itself. This is ha'ora. Seichel, as deep as seichel as could be, seichel is a ha'ora of the nefesh, ha'ora of the rotzen nefesh. So, when one is misboinet, that all the Giluim in worlds, Hurag Ha'ora Levad, is only a Ha'ora, which means this is how you recognize her. It can be recognized from a worldly perspective. Not the essential element of Elokus. This is how Elokus illuminates a worldly presence. Right. The Torah says, "Lo signoi, lo sigze." And why lo sigze? What does lo sigze represent? Lo sigze represents a principle that there are two people, and each one has their, what's called the godly present, the godly right to be in the world, and to own their property, to own their possessions. And when you go and you take someone else's possessions, without his consent, you're violating this godly principle, this godly truth. But this godly truth, the godly truth is much deeper than the fact that I have my possession, you have your possession. This is only how this godly truth is manifest on a worldly level. So when one is reflecting that all the Gilui Elokus that one can have in the world is only Ha'ora, this is not the essential, the real truth of Elokus itself. Amit is Himotza, it's a completely different thing. And here's where we're going to interrupt. So I don't know if anybody is there on the conference, but if there is, have a good day. We'll resume the mission tomorrow morning. Be well.